And shifting our focus now to news we're picking up on Afghanistan. Republic has learned that the new Afghan government will be led by Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar. The Taliban founder Mullah Muhammad Omar's son Mullah Yaqub and Abbas Staniksai would be senior officials in the new government. So we're picking up more information on what we can expect as far as the new government in Afghanistan led by the Taliban is concerned. Also reports coming in of how Mullah Akhundzada would be the supreme leader. Let me quickly bring in our guest joining us this afternoon, Captain Alok Bansal. Captain Alok Bansal, now we are being told that the new government in Kabul will be on the lines of the Iranian leadership, which means that they will have one supreme leader followed by the other top leadership. So whatever they decide, one thing is clear that so far there's no indication whatsoever of an inclusive government that they were talking about and some other countries too were talking about.
See, inclusive government, I've had never any idea that the Taliban will have an inclusive government. At the most, you could have had some puppets who they could probably project to show that it's an inclusive government. The power will be wielded by them. Iran has a Vilayat-e-Faqih. They will have an Amirul Muminin who would have the veto on every government decision. Day-to-day functioning would be, as is believed, Mullah Baradar would be running it. There are also reports saying that Mullah Baradar would also head the foreign office. So it is de facto, de jure a Taliban government. Maybe some modicum of representation from other ethnicities, etc., just to project to the world, yes, that's an inclusive government. But it will be a government of the Taliban, for the Taliban, and by the Taliban. So all others, peripheral elements, some of the Tajiks, etc., sectarian minorities, etc., might be included just for the sake of show, in case if they decide. But as of now, it looks very, very unlikely that any prominent leader who is outside Taliban will be included, unless, of course, he has completely surrendered himself to the Taliban's diktats.
Now we are picking up a few names, Captain Bansal, on who could be sitting on the top as far as this new government is concerned. But parallelly, all these days, we've also been seeing the anti-Taliban resistance, which is, of course, being led by Amrullah Saleh, the caretaker president. Now, what happens to that? And, of course, Ahmad Massoud, they were hoping to strike a deal with the Taliban and possibly have some sort of representation in the new government. We don't see that happening so far.
See, Amrullah Saleh had said very categorically that he can only negotiate with Taliban if they agree on a representative government. Now, Taliban and democracy don't go together. Their basic ideology is contradictory to democracy. The very concept of democracy is anathema to them because Amirul Muminin's word is diktat. So that is against the basic principles of democracy, where one man can overrule anybody. So Taliban was never going to accept that, and that is unlikely to happen. But the point is for the international community to discuss. They had recognized an Afghan government whose president has left the country. And as per the constitutional and legal understanding that I have, once the president leaves, the first vice president of the country becomes officiating president. That's the truth. So as far as we are all concerned, there is a government functioning within Afghanistan, which is led by Amrullah Saleh. So another government is coming up. So now there will be parallel governments. And now each country will have to decide who do they want to recognize. And that recognition will vary from country to country. And this will, I think even government of India would have to take a call on this because we need to be very, very clear as to what Taliban's ideology is and how it is pitted against our interest in the long term.
Yes, and that recognition is also extremely important, Captain Bansal, because the state of affairs there is something that the government needs to reflect upon. They need money, they need funds, and that those funds will come when the government is recognized. So they need international investors in that sense. But what's also worrisome, Captain Bansal, is what we're seeing on ground zero. Look at the victory parade they held. I mean, they were parading suicide bombers. Those bomb vest cars. I mean, all of that was on display. So, God knows what's lined up next in Afghanistan.
See, as I have always said, that if anybody believes that Taliban is going to change, they're living in a cuckoo land. The fact of the matter is, it is an organization which is wedded to an ideology, and they are not going to compromise with their ideology. Having said that, yes, they are interested in aid. They want support from the international community. They would want to be recognized by the international community, and they are reaching out to India also. But remember, they are not going to make compromises. They are willing to push Afghanistan back to stone ages if required. But they would not make a compromise with their basic ideology. And this was seen in 2001 when Americans wanted Osama bin Laden to be handed over to them. They did not. And this fact must be understood. They are reaching out to India today because they know there is a resistance inside Afghanistan. And if that resistance persists, then that resistance will start gaining more mass, because a vast majority of Afghans are not supporting Taliban. They are opposed to Taliban, but they are not very sure whether this resistance is credible. So if any external support comes to this resistance has the wherewithal to give Taliban a tough fight. And if that happens, you will find a lot of minorities, both ethnic minorities, sectarian minorities, are waiting and watching. They will come and join this resistance against Taliban.
Yes, already we're seeing the Special Forces unit, several of those Afghan officers, who've joined hands with the anti-Taliban resistance, the Northern Alliance. But let's see how this plays out. Captain Bansal, stay on with us. Interesting developments coming in from Afghanistan. We need to, for the moment, slip into a very short break here.